Saturday, 20 November 2021 was a normal day for 18-year-old Bobbi-Anne McLeod. She spent the day hanging around with her parents Donna and Adrian and her brother Lee at their home in Liam, a city in Plymouth, England. She left her home around 5:45 p.m. to see her boyfriend. She said her goodbyes to her father and told him that she loved him before heading to the nearby bus stop on Bampton Road. Bobbi-Anne was seen there by a passerby between 6:05 p.m. and 6:15 p.m. looking up the street, checking for the bus. At about 6:49 p.m., she posted a picture on social media of her feet while she was still at the bus stop, adding that she was cold. Her mom texted her at 7:15 p.m. asking her whether she was okay, because she would always check in with them when she went somewhere, but Bobbi-Anne never replied. At around the same time, a man arrived at the bus stop to wait for the bus. As he went to sit down, he accidentally kicked a phone and an airport case that he didn't initially see lying on the ground. He looked around to see whether he could see anyone that it might belong to, but there was no one there. At 7:23 p.m., the bus arrived and he handed the item to the bus driver, hoping that someone lost it and might come around looking for it. At 9 p.m., her boyfriend phoned the family home to find out if her family knew where Bobbi-Anne was, because she never made it to his place. They were getting worried about her. They started phoning friends and acquaintances, but no one had seen or heard anything from Bobbi-Anne. Her family and friends immediately started making posts on social media, and they went out looking for her. As concern began to spread on social media, members of the community joined the search for Bobbi-Anne the next day. During one of these searches, a local schoolboy found her AirPods on a path behind the bus stop on Sunday morning, 21 November. Devon and Cornwall police also immediately launched an extensive missing person search and public appeal for help. They began to try and track Bobbi-Anne's phone. They could see that it was still in Plymouth, but could not pin down the exact whereabouts as the phone was off. By Monday morning, the search was being ramped up and police asked for help finding her. They released a description in the media with details on Bobbi-Anne's disappearance, stating where she was last seen and what she looked like. She was 4 foot 11 inches, of slight build, with brown straight shoulder-length hair, green eyes and ear piercings. They also asked her to get in touch if she could. Several community and volunteer-run searches were also ran concurrently with the searches of the police and continued in the area over the next few days. On Tuesday, 23 November, a man by the name of Cody Ackland left work at a valeting department of a Plymouth garage around noon and never returned. At 1:30 p.m., he walked into the Charles Cross police station in Plymouth, saying he had information about the disappearance of Bobbi-Anne McLeod. He was taken back into an interrogation room where he asked for a map. He then directed police officers to Bobbi-Anne, saying that Bobbi-Anne could be found in the lane that led to the beach cafe. All focus immediately turned to finding Bobbi-Anne in the hope that she was still alive. At around 3:45 p.m., detectives found her body within vegetation, around 15 feet down a steep incline halfway down the densely wooded lane. Before her body was formally identified, it was clear that it was Bobbi-Anne, and police informed her family. Her body was also later formally identified through dental records, and a police statement was released, and Cody Ackland was immediately arrested on suspicion of murder. Tributes immediately started pouring in for Bobbi-Anne. She was described as someone with a lot of friends. A frizzy-haired, happy, smiley bundle of joy. She was one of those people that everyone called their best friend. She was loving, caring, and great fun to be around, and was always the life of the party, and wasn't afraid to make fun of herself. She absolutely loved the color baby blue and Stitch from the Lilo and Stitch movie. She loved alternative music like Nirvana, Pink Floyd, Guns N' Roses, and Queens. And she loved wearing ripped jeans and old band t-shirts. On 25 November, a vigil was held for Bobbi-Anne across the road from the bus stop where she was last seen, with hundreds of people showing up to pay tribute to the 18-year-old woman who so brutally lost her life. Her brother Lee said, "Until we meet again, sis, I love you. You didn't deserve this. Such a beautiful and talented girl. And to have you as my sister, the adventure and journey we had been on will always be treasured. Now go and rest easy." Donna McLeod, Bobbi-Anne's mom, sobbed as she paid tribute to her daughter and thanked friends, family, and the wider community for their support. Surrounded by other family members, her voice trembled, but she completed a prepared statement. She said, "I would like to thank everyone for coming on behalf of the family. It's nice everyone is coming together in these circumstances. Unfortunately, our beautiful Bobbi-Anne has been taken from us, but she will never be forgotten. I'd like everyone to hold their candles up. This is for Bobbi-Anne." This was followed by a moment of silence as the entire crowd held up their candles in unison. The group then held up their candles before releasing balloons into the sky. Cody Ackland was 24 years old and working as a car valet. He was unknown to police and had no history of any crimes. He was part of a 4-piece indie band called Rakuda, who had released their first album in 2020 and was very popular in the Plymouth area. Cody confessed to police that he had abducted and murdered Bobbi-Anne, who was a stranger to him. In disturbing police interviews, he also revealed the horrific circumstances about the night of the murder, for which he said he was solely responsible. He stated that he wanted to confess so he could help the police and Bobbi-Anne's family. I just need to give a trigger warning for the following part as it describes the violent way that Cody treated Bobbi-Anne. Cody told police that he'd gone out on the night because he was feeling low and wound up, and he needed to get out of the house. He cut through Liam to save time, which is when he randomly chanced upon Bobbi-Anne at the bus stop, who reminded him of a girl that he used to date. After parking his car, he crept up on the teenager along a path behind the bus stop before striking her over the back of the head with a claw hammer. She fell to the ground, and as their eyes met, he hit her over the head again. He said his initial attack was meant to be it, but as he walked back to his car, he saw Bobbi-Anne attempting to sit up. So he decided to drive his car to the bus stop, and he picked up the bleeding Bobbi-Anne and violently bundled her in the footwell, strangled her, and covered her with his jacket. He thought that she was dead. He then drove with her in the car around 19 miles to a car park at Bellevue Forest on the fringes of Dartmoor. He realized that Bobbi-Anne was still alive, so he took her out of the car. She could still walk by that time, so he held her up, and while she was upright, he started walking her into a remote part of the forest. At one point, she told him, "I'm scared," and he said, "So am I have never done this before." He then proceeded to repeatedly hit her with a hammer, causing multiple catastrophic injuries to her head and face during a prolonged, frenzied, sadistic attack. After hitting her repeatedly, he realized that she was still alive as she made noises, and he then decided to stomp on her neck to end it all. Describing the moments after he battered the teenager in a police interview, he told them, "It's not funny, but she started to make a noise and I thought, fucking hell, wow, I mean hats off to her." Has any one of you ever watched Little Nicky, the movie with Adam Sandler? Well, if you have, you know that there's a scene with a certain well-known German politician where he's in hell and he gets a pineapple shoved up his ass every day at 4 p.m. Let's just say I hope Cody Ackland finds his way to that part of hell, but that he has to get more than one of these shoved up his ass every day.
Finish him!
He was now sure that Bobbi-Anne had passed away. He decided that he now had to do damage control and get rid of evidence. He burned her handbag and some other evidence from the car and put her body in the boot of his car and drove more than 25 miles to Bovesand, on the eastern side of Plymouth Sound, where he stripped her naked. He took her clothes and jewelry and dumped her body in the undergrowth down a slope and went home to sleep. The next day, he drove to Tamerton Folio, where he threw the hammer into the River Tamar and threw a carrier bag containing his and her bloodstained clothing into nearby allotments in Coombe Lane. He then went for pizza with a friend. Afterward, he attended practice with bandmates. He got a takeaway and he drank into the early hours of the next day with friends at a pub lock-in. Friends recall him being happier than usual. The next day, he called in sick to his work and went to the cinema. In the police interview, he told the police that killing someone was not on his mind because it was so out there and extreme that it was almost like a film or fantasy. He admitted that he did not know how he felt about the murder, that it felt like someone else had committed the crime, but he knew deep down that it was him. Forensic evidence and phone location data gathered during the murder investigation corroborated Ackland's account. Ackland was proven through the mobile data found to be close to Bobbi-Anne at the time that she was at the bus stop. Police searched his car and found a bag that had a hammer and knife in it. There were black latex gloves in his glove box. His blood-stained trainers were also found in his wardrobe with Bobbi-Anne's blood on them, and her blood was also found in and around his car. The fire where he burnt the handbag and items from the car was inspected by police. They found Bobbi-Anne's blood on nearby rocks as well. Police also found the clothes that Ackland had disposed of, but they never recovered the specific hammer that he had injured Bobbi-Anne with. It was also found that Cody had a secret morbid interest in a significant number of serial killers from around the world. In the months leading up to the killing, he had searched the internet for information about several murderers, including the Golden State Killer, Joseph DeAngelo Jr., Andre Chikatilo, Ivan Milat, Fred West, and Tommy Sells, while also searching for images of their victims' bodies. But in particular, most searched out of all of these was Ted Bundy. There were several pictures of Bundy and the weapons that he used on his phone. Days before, he had also been searching DIY stores for hammers, crowbars, and cutting tools, as well as American serial killer Richard Chase and his victims' bodies, as well as remote places in Dartmoor and fernworthy forests. The day after Bobbi-Anne was murdered, he searched B&Q and a book about Ted Bundy, as well as Urban Outfitters clothing and the detective leading the appeal for information on Bobbi-Anne. The day before handing himself in, he searched Ed Kemper. In total, 3,216 images were found on his phone, many depicting dismembered or dead bodies, post-mortems and murder scenes, or either weapons used or pictures of the killers themselves. Police believed that he had a morbid fascination with the macabre and a deep-rooted fascination with death, murder, and murderers, and the means to commit murder, as well as looking at autopsies or the bodies of said killers. And if it hadn't been Bobbi-Anne McLeod stood at that bus stop that night, the police believe that her killer, Cody Ackland, would have just picked someone else.
My belief is that when he left his home address, he had an intention to kill, but to kill anybody. Not necessarily Bobby, not necessarily a woman, but somebody that he thought he could get away with. The brutality and the prolonged nature of that attack upon a lone 18-year-old young woman who was just over 5 foot, who was significantly under 7 stone, defies belief.
On 5 April 2022, Cody Ackland pleaded guilty to the murder of Bobbi-Anne McLeod. During this hearing, his lawyers stated that Cody never received the help that he needed when he was younger. He stated that Cody had been diagnosed with special educational needs by the age of 7, and at the age of 9, he was already contemplating ending his life. He stated that Cody was later diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, depression, and anxiety, and by the age of 19 had a 7-year depressive history. He stated that Cody had not received much comfort from either his home or his school life, and that his father and other male role models had not provided much in the way of support. He said that Cody Ackland viewed Bobbi-Anne's murder as the culmination of everything that has gone on in his life stemming from childhood. He said that Cody was described by psychiatrists as leading a sad and isolated life from a very young age, someone who is self-absorbed but not in a narcissistic way, and that he was not self-loving, he was self-loathing. He grew up to hate himself, angry with the world, angry with everything, and he did at the time seek assistance and help about that, but it wasn't particularly forthcoming. Love how they tried to mitigate being a loner and having ADHD and dyslexia and not much of a role model as a reason to kill someone. For no reason at all. The prosecutor added, "There are numerous images of the American serial killer Ted Bundy on Cody Ackland's telephone, and images of weapons he used to kill his victims. Bundy approached his victims in public places and knocked them unconscious before killing them. And it is not a coincidence that Bobbi-Anne McLeod met her fate the same way." On 19 May 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 30 years and 190 days to be served. Speaking directly to Ackland, the judge said, "You subjected Bobbi-Anne McLeod to a prolonged, savage, and merciless attack. You are a highly dangerous person, and there is a strong possibility you may never be released from prison. She had her whole life in front of her, until it was brutally and savagely snuffed out by you. Her parents and her brother are devastated by her loss." After Ackland was sentenced, Bobbi-Anne's mother Donna, father Adrian, and brother Lee released a joint family statement in which they described her. "Bobbi-Anne was the best daughter, the best sister, the best friend to so many people. Everybody who knew Bobbi loved her. We have been robbed of our beautiful girl in the worst possible way, and our lives will never be the same without her. Our lives have changed forever. We have not been able to say goodbye to Bobbi-Anne, and we can only imagine the things he did to her. The thoughts are continually going around in our minds. Why Bobbi-Anne? Why make her suffer? To know her final hours were spent being tortured destroys us inside. Bobbi-Anne was so loved and had so many life plans. She had dreams of becoming an interior designer. He cruelly ripped that life away from her and us. We can't even contemplate a future without her in it. There will never be anything the justice system can impose that will ever come close to what he deserves." "6 months After Bobbi-Anne was so cruelly murdered, her funeral service was held on 26 May 2022. Hundreds of mourners lined the streets of Plymouth to watch the procession. Her coffin was turquoise baby blue. It was covered in Stitch memorabilia and was taken by horse-drawn carriage from near the bus stop where she was last seen to the church where the service was taking place. They played her favorite music, alternative rock, and asked people to dress in band shirts and black jeans, which was how she loved to dress. At the door, people were handed blue ribbons and asked for donations for charity, for which they received a pink wristband that read, "My heart is with you forever, Bobbi-Anne." A tree and a bench in memory of Bobbi-Anne has been put up in Sheepstore Road across from the bus stop where she was last seen, and it had become a site for tributes months after she had lost her life. On 27 May, a day after Bobbi-Anne was laid to rest, Plymouth's Violence Against Women and Girls Commission published a groundbreaking report that came from a survey that was undertaken in March 2022 by residents of Plymouth. In their report, 15 recommendations were made, supported by clear actions to ensure that Plymouth drove a culture change which challenged male violence against women and girls, and to better support women and girls who had been subjected to male violence and create safe spaces for women and girls. It's a tragedy to me that someone had to lose their life before people wake up and realize that a change is needed. Every single person, man, woman, child, young adult, elderly, should feel safe in their home and outside of their home. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Please remember to be kind. Remember that these are real people that we are talking about, with people that love them and miss them dearly. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate your support so very much. Please remember to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. It's a free way that you can help me out. Please stay safe out there. Until next time, bye!